Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Climate Gap. I'm your host, Lewis Martin. Today we're joined by Tyler Smith, Vice President of Global Lifecycle Solutions at Johnson Controls, which I'm sure most of you will know is a recognized leader in the healthy buildings movement. With over 2 decades of experience across engineering, product management, and executive leadership, Tyler brings a uniquely holistic view in how buildings can, and more importantly, should support both human health and operational excellence. We're going to unpack that, get into his career, how he's continued to level up during his 20-year stint at Johnson Controls, and also get his insights into some of the industry's latest trends. So, shall we get into it? Tyler, it's great to have you on The Climate Gap. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it, Lewis.
So, I think the easiest way for us to kick things off here is, can you give us a snapshot of what your current role looks like at Johnson Controls? What are the day-to-day responsibilities here?
Well, I just hit my 20th year here at Johnson Controls, and my current title in business is VP of the Global Lifecycle Solutions business. And the simplest way to think about what we do in our day-to-day is we are a product management and strategy organization for the life cycle of the assets that we manufacture and install for our clients. So we take all of the great things that come out of our factories, wrap them with services and digital capabilities to unlock the full life cycle value of those assets for our clients.
Okay, great. Now, if you think about the industry that we're in, you can think of terminologies like smart buildings, intelligent buildings, connected buildings. When people hear that or see the phrase healthy buildings, how do you describe that to them? What does that mean?
Yeah, it's an important question and one that's evolved a lot over the last 5 or so years. The phrase healthy buildings has been around for some time. It's a pre-pandemic phrase. I like to think about it today as a really exciting and evolved term that includes not only the health, wellness, and productivity of people inside of buildings, but also the impact of the building on its environment. And so I love Venn diagrams. In my mind, when I think of the phrase healthy buildings, I imagine a Venn diagram of all of these great people-related outcomes, like I just stated, external environment-related outcomes like decarbonization or net zero. And then there's another aspect of it that I think is really fun to explore, and it's how are we utilizing the spaces that we're in? And how are we leveraging data to make smart decisions about where people are and what they're doing in buildings as we make decisions on how to operate that building?
I think that's something that we'll touch on later in the podcast. When you think of your career, especially having spent 20 years with Johnson Controls, it's very rare in this day and age that you see individuals with that longevity at one organization. Take us back to the start. What pulled you in during those early days into mechanical engineering and buildings in the first place?
Yeah. Well, I went to school to undergraduate to get an engineering degree, but I knew towards the end that I didn't necessarily want to be a typical engineer. I love them and work alongside them every day, but I was feeling called towards a different aspect of leveraging my engineering education and skills. And as I was interviewing for roles in my final year, I kept coming back to sales roles, technical sales roles, what at the time we were calling sales engineering. And that's the direction that I headed. I got an opportunity to work for York International, which was a precursor company to the current Johnson Controls. And it really gave me that blend that I was looking for to leverage my degree, leverage my engineering capabilities, but also leverage my interpersonal skills to connect what we could do, what my products and technologies could do with the outcomes that my customers valued.
I think one of the many reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast was to really unpack the journey of your career, just because of when you see some of the pain points across our industry, talent tends to be top 3, perhaps even top 1. and there just isn't enough individuals coming into the space. And also, at the same point, there isn't a linear journey that everyone takes. From your standpoint, project engineering, sales engineering, eventually moving into leadership positions and executive positions within Johnson Controls. How important was those early years in the weeds, let's say, when it came to sales engineering?
Yeah, the deeper that I get into my career, Lewis, the more thankful I am that I started where I did, because in those early days, I was able to and learn this all the hard way. Uh, Understand what makes a deal happen in our industry, that contract to be led, or that purchase order to be signed, or that decision to make an investment. In sales, you're living and breathing that every day, and enabling your customers to choose you as a partner, because not only is your price right, not only do you have the right product, but you're the one that's going to deliver the value that they're looking for. You're the one that they've chosen as the most capable of unlocking the outcomes that they and their stakeholders value. So, trial and error, learning that the hard way in the early days of my career, really, what does it take to keep this industry ticking? I've then been able to apply as a leader in making strategic decisions, whether it's hiring people or choosing to invest in a new capability, being constantly grounded. And what does it actually take to make business happen in our industry, and letting that guide my decisions.
And with John's Controls, as you mentioned, you've just had your 20th year anniversary. Individuals who will listen to this podcast and may even know you or check you out on LinkedIn, let's say, is it fair to say it was intentional, or has it just naturally unfolded where, as you've continued to become ingrained in the Johnson Controls way, and obviously prior to that with York, as you mentioned, there hasn't really been a need to explore elsewhere?
It's been intentional. I think from day one, Lewis, it's been my attraction to the mission of Johnson Controls, my personal attraction. If we were doing things that I wasn't personally, committed to or attracted to, then we may be having a different conversation today. But we do some amazing things in areas of, resilience to climate events, to AI and data centers, the health, wellness, and productivity of people in buildings, all things that are just like personally attractive to me. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a leader making difficult decisions, and how we move those elements of the industry forward and capabilities forward. And so, it's been a series of good fortune, events of good fortune, and a little bit of luck and hard work and investing in myself, going back to school, getting my graduate degree in business. That has brought me to where I am today, compounded by the fact that I get to work with some amazing people, the smartest people in the industry, doing important work.
And undoubtedly one of, if not the recognized leader in all things across our industry. When you look back on your career, are there some key inflection points where you think, wow, my influence is beginning to scale here?
Yeah, I think back to 10 years ago when I got my first chance to lead people. I had gone back to business school while working, so I went to school at night. And by 2015, I'd like to say that I'd earned the opportunity to lead people. And I'd never done that before. I'd done some leadership in school, but that first day that I had gotten a chance to lead a team and coach others and enable their success and challenge them in all the right ways and drive accountability, things like that, just really opened my eyes to a set of skills that I hadn't been able to flex before, that I didn't really maybe appreciate in myself. up until that point. So that was the first important inflection point, Lewis. And really the second one was March of 2020, when things changed for all of us, and the the societal commitment that Johnson Controls had at that time to leverage our capabilities to keep people safe in buildings, and then the opportunity that my leadership team gave me, or that I earned, to help build Johnson Controls portfolio to do so, and scale it to the point that it's at today. Just the most important inflection point in my career, and one of the reasons you and I are talking today.
Well, I'm certainly grateful for that. When in your career you've led channel sales, specialty products, as we've mentioned twice now, but previously worked for York. Um, Johnson Controls is an incumbent, right? It's a conglomerate. So there's challenges in working through a large organization. At least from experience speaking with individuals who are working in similar organizations to yourself. From a leadership style, how do you adapt to some of those challenges when you're looking at different business areas or verticals or industries within a large company like Johnson Controls?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a very real and present topic for us. As you acknowledged, Lewis, we've got we are the leader in the spaces that we operate in. We're global. We operate in pretty much every country in which it's legal to do so. We touch a lot of all aspects of buildings, and so every day we've got to make smart decisions on where we're going to spend our time, where we're going to spend our money, what we're going to expect out of our people, and then also be mindful of what's coming down the road at us. What does a year on look like? What does 3 to 5 to 10 years even look like in our industry? So that's the challenge and the opportunity and the fun part of being a leader at a company like this is having that foresight, letting our understanding of our right to play and our right to win, the value of certain segments or industries that we could compete in, making difficult decisions on ones that we're going to choose not to, prioritizing the ones that we are, and going all in to be a winner in those industries. So it's an everyday opportunity for us, and that nimbleness, that strategic agility, is what I'm convinced has positioned Johnson Controls where we are today.
It's interesting because you wouldn't necessarily associate agility with just such a large organization, right?
Yeah.
When you think about some of the decisions that have been made, and given the time that you've spent at Johnson Controls, you've seen the industry ebb and flow, new trends come in and out. Is there any standout moments where you've thought you've had to get through this situation, or there's been enormous challenges when you think about your business scaling leadership within that across a global organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've acknowledged something important, which is how can a business of our scale be agile? And I'm here to tell you that it's possible, and we're living proof of it today. But it takes coming together as leaders. It takes an element of trust. It takes a really solid foundation of best business practices. Everything that needs to be in place on the foundation, such that we can move quickly and make decisions in the moment. I'll go back to the challenges that arose during and after the pandemic as a prime example of that. Every day we woke up, the situation had changed. And so we won, and we were able to partner with our clients and help them operate buildings in a healthier manner because we had enabled a small group of leaders to make decisions in the moment. And we had rallied those in the field, those running the P&Ls in the field around the calls, and they were prepared to act and respond just as fast as we were. We're all hopeful that we don't experience anything like that ever again, but we proved to ourselves that in such a challenging environment, we can continue to deliver on our mission. We can continue to be the partner that our clients need us to be, whether it's a airborne pandemic or it's a climate emergency or it's something like AI and data centers, which we're living in today. Another trend that's moving incredibly fast. I've actually never seen innovation happening as quickly as I'm seeing in that industry right now.
No, I agree. It's definitely interesting to see on the sidelines. Um, I want to talk more about Johnson Controls' efforts within healthy buildings, and referring back to your previous point, the pandemic was clearly a big wake up call and almost a reset for a lot of organizations, big or small. You look at the amount of technology startups that were focused on indoor air quality, sensors, biosafety, UV detection, filtration, you name it. There was just an enormous amount of capital being deployed, and rightly so, into making these technologies successful so they can make our buildings more safe and to be in day to day. And I think I was speaking to someone yesterday, and they mentioned that during the pandemic, commercial buildings were probably the safest place to be, just with the amount of technology in them.
Absolutely.
How I think what people won't be aware of is how big the healthy buildings part of Johnson Controls business is. So when you think about where it's at today versus even before the pandemic, what was it? Just the pandemic that sparked your internal efforts to be right? Let's go. We have a huge opportunity here, or whether there are foundations already in the works prior to the pandemic?
Yeah. Foundation's already in the works. When you think about the way that we defined a healthy building at that time, and maybe up until that time, a healthy building is one in which people thrive. They're safe, they're healthy, they're productive. And you can take that set of outcomes all the way back to the founding of Johnson Controls in the 1880s and the invention of the thermostat, the comfort. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? Is it too humid? All contribute to the health, wellness, and productivity of people. It's just that the phrase healthy building and the realities of airborne infectious diseases were thrust into the collective conscience in early 2020 to an extent that they'd never been before. And so it really it forced us to really double down on the strategy that we had, the portfolio that we had, the commercial models that we had, the training of our salespeople, everything that we needed to be able to connect all those things that we knew we had been good at for decades with the decisions that our customers were having, our clients were having to make in real time. And then I'll take us back to what we talked about at the top of the discussion as the definition of, in my opinion at least, a healthy building has evolved over time. And we're talking still about the health, wellness, and productivity of people, but also the impact that building has on its external environment. I see that as a very evergreen way to think about a building. How is it impacting people? How is it impacting its environment? And how is it reacting to changes in that environment?
Without doubt, we're definitely on the same page there. You touched on it briefly, and during the prep call, we'd spoken about smarter, healthier buildings becoming a strategic edge. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if we think about the challenges that our clients are facing, attracting and retaining talent, creating environments in which people thrive, moving more quickly than ever, reacting to changes in external environmental conditions, etc. We're finding that those clients of ours that invest in smart building technologies, whether they're sensors or, obviously AI, additional cloud-based capabilities, integrations into other data sets, etc., those that are leveraging data better than others are creating a strategic edge, are creating that set of operational characteristics of their company or of their building that are going to enable them to compete and win and deliver on their mission better than maybe others are. And in doing so, create that strategic edge.
Okay, that's interesting. When you think about the last 20 years, even specifically the last 5 years, is there a project or a product that you're particularly proud of that you've been working on or supportive on during working with the Healthy Building Initiative?
Yeah, I'm most proud of our OpenBlue product. It's our digital software as a service SaaS product, and I'll speak broadly to it. OpenBlue has been around for 4 or 5 years at this point, and without the capabilities that are inherent in that platform, be it the ability to integrate disparate sets of data, of course, sensors, of course, indoor air quality sensors, but also leveraging capabilities like machine learning and artificial intelligence to enable our customers to make sense of data, to react to changes in real time in the operation of their buildings. We wouldn't be able to have delivered the outcomes over the last 5 years in the Healthy Buildings portfolio without that core set of capabilities. And we're not going to be able to deliver outcomes to our clients going forward as the world changes and things evolve and AI becomes more prevalent without OpenBlue.
I agree. Just just so that I'm crystal clear, when you think about your career and also customers, when you look at Johnson Controls and just the array of products, services, even consulting that they do, how has that changed in terms of selling those products? Because you've got the Johnson Controls corporate arm, you've obviously got the channel, you've got the branches. How does the Healthy Building segment of Johnson Controls business fit into just the overall picture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the themes that you're hitting at is we're a large company, we're global, and we have multiple channels through which we deliver products and services and digital capabilities. And that's really important for a company like ours because as we segment the market opportunity and understand the unique, buying drivers, the way that clients prefer to buy, price points at which they prefer to buy, the way that we bundle digital capabilities and services together, et cetera, all that varies as we look across all the segments in the market. So we use that strategy of proper segmentation to then guide, do we have the right channels set up? Do we need to identify additional channel partners? And if so, what should they look like? What characteristics should they bring to the relationship such that we can achieve our objectives in that segment?
Mm.
And the same holds true for our Healthy Buildings portfolio or any of the portfolios that I'm responsible for. We're constantly challenging ourselves to not only leverage the breadth and capabilities of our branch network. It's what Johnson Controls is known for, a massive, highly successful, great partner for our clients in local markets branch network, plus additional ways that we can deliver value to our clients, be that through distributors or resellers or sales agents, so that we can serve all of those segments as best possible.
So when you think about customers over the last 5 years, again, ebbs and flows, different services or just different needs, different pain points, would you say that customers now are more educated. They perhaps have more demands for what a building looks like, whether it's a smart, connected, healthy building, or would you say that from a technology standpoint and actually adopting technology, not just Johnson Controls, but broadly speaking, there's still a level of caution?
I think we're still on a journey there. Um, Caution, I don't know if caution is the word that I would choose. I think that there's still it's still incumbent upon us, those that are subject matter experts in the possibilities that a smart building unlocks, to continue to invest in opportunities like this one
Mm.
to educate and inform. I think that we've got obviously a whole range of building operators out there. You've got some on the bleeding edge of technology adoption, just like we always have been and always will. Some really exciting case studies out there, and then you've got everyone kind of in the bulk in the middle who are doing their best. They've got multiple priorities that are competing for their attention every day. They're under pressure to operate fiscally responsibly. Capital budgets, operational budgets are constrained as ever. And so they're just trying to get by and deliver on their prime directive, whatever that may be, whether it's a hospital trying to serve patients or a school educating kids. Over time, and with proper education and with proper proof points, we're going to see continued adoption of smart building technology enabling those outcomes. And I'm really excited with the pace of change and adoption that we're seeing today. AI is one of those market tailwinds that I think is, everyone has heard that acronym. Everyone is somehow interacting with that in their day to day. And we are just seeing some really exciting innovation happening in how we can leverage AI to operate buildings in a better way.
100%. I think this is a good segue. Obviously, FDD analytics has been around for a while, and I would say has gained quite a bit of traction over the last 3 years in particular, but maybe the last 6 or 7. How are you seeing it within Johnson Controls? Is it playing a big role, as big a role as what the industry is saying and talking about when you look at digital services and analytics?
Yes, absolutely. And that's part of what my team and I live and breathe every day, and leveraging data from assets, analyzing, transforming that data in a meaningful way, extracting insights, and then using that as an input back into enabling our customers to operate, more efficiently, more cost effectively, deliver outcomes in a better way, et cetera, et cetera. And it's without those core capabilities that you referenced, including fault detection and diagnostics, FDD, we wouldn't be able to deliver those outcomes. The innovation happening in that space is how do we ensure that all assets are connected? How do we ensure that we're in real time leveraging the insights from those assets? And then there is a loop being closed back to the operation of that asset, such that we're enabling achieving those outcomes. And that's the really exciting part of Johnson Controls that I'm fortunate to be a part of, and that my team is innovating in every day.
So, Tyler, when we think about the global lifecycle solutions of Johnson Controls, how does that build on all the work that you've done across healthy buildings?
Yeah, it goes back to that word outcome, which I know I've used a bunch in our discussion, but so important as we think about how we spend our time, where we focus our innovation, understanding what keeps our customers going and what commitments they've made, how they judge their operations, the KPIs that they've set up, et cetera, et cetera. Operating a healthier building is one of many outcomes that they have committed to. So as we take that back then to my team and my current role as leading global lifecycle solutions, we are committed to then developing services and digital capabilities that enable them to do so better than anyone else can. And the worst thing that we could do is manufacture a chiller, ship it and install it and walk away. That is us not being a good trusted advisor to our clients. And thankfully we don't do that. The best thing that we can do at the complete opposite end of that spectrum is design a chiller from square one in which it's connection ready, easy to be serviced, obviously efficient, et cetera, et cetera. Ship it, install it, and then continue our partnership with that client through our services capabilities and helping them maintain it, leveraging data that's coming off of that chiller, analyzing that data and using the insights to improve its operations, be their parts partner, be there when it comes time to upgrade the chiller, whether that's in response to refrigerant regulations or otherwise, throughout its full 25 or so year life cycle, be there on that day, ready to help them replace it with a brand new Johnson Controls product. And we and my team and I are committed to ensuring that we're as prepared as we can be at every stage of that journey, every stage of that life cycle, to enable our customers to meet the outcomes that they value.
I think I wanted to say refreshing, but it's not refreshing. But I think it's great to hear how hands-on you are, but just across the board, right? Because I think there has been challenges in the past from us as an industry where maybe we have taken our eye off the ball and not focused on the outcomes that you've mentioned. One of the outcomes is happy customers, satisfied customers. I want to shift gears slightly here and talk about the future. You've mentioned a couple of times on this podcast, and it's obviously not going away anywhere, but AI. Now, if you think of big tech, there's question marks around AI and whether we're in an AI bubble per se. But we're also at a very early stage of the applications that could be used for our industry when it comes to AI. So, I mean, from your standpoint, what do you from your standpoint, what do you expect to see shape the built environment over the next 3 to 5 years? Is it going to be AI-led applications, how people are using it, or do you see other things that might come up over that time frame?
What excites me the most, Lewis, about AI in buildings is how it enables our understanding of data and our arriving at insights quicker than any other way that's available to us right now. Buildings are not going to have fewer sensors going forward. We're going to have more. The amount of things, the number of things that we can measure and track is only going to increase going forward. And so as the inputs into a control system, as the inputs into a digital SaaS overlay on a building increase, we have got to leverage technology, including AI, to help us make sense of it. And that's where I think the most exciting innovation for AI in buildings is going to happen, of making sense of all the data, transforming that data, arriving at insights, and then helping us operate better and in more real-time fashion in response to changes in the environment than we could otherwise. We could talk also about generative AI. Of course, there are going to be some use cases for that as we enable our customers to understand the operation of their equipment, as we enable our technicians to serve our clients better than they have been in the past. But I'm most excited about what AI is going to enable as we unlock the power of these large data sets.
Do you ever see a scenario where buildings can be fully autonomous?
Absolutely. I think the question is not if, but when. There's absolutely that future. And there's some exciting innovation happening in that space right now, or maybe the conversation for a future podcast down the road a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, absolutely. And then of course there are some hurdles that we've got to cross between here and there. And we'll see a similar adoption of capabilities when they come, as we're seeing today with other uses of AI. You've got early adopters that want to be a part of something exciting, and then our customers win when we're able to convince the masses. So that'll be a fun one to watch over the next several years.
Well, watch or I imagine you're going to be quite closely tied to some of those outcomes.
Absolutely.
Earlier in this podcast, I mentioned that one of the key challenges in our space is just the lack of talent. And I'm sure whether Johnson Controls in the field faces some of these pain points or not, I'm almost certain your customers or partners in the channel do. I think there's a role that most, if not all, individuals, whether it's in my position and in yours or in any capacity in the industry, there's a role that everyone has to play in trying to move that needle, because it's not just our industry; it's everyone's, right? Like we're not just in a talent war from Johnson Controls versus competitor. We're in a talent war industry to industry and trying to pull more people in. So I want to ask you a couple of questions about just your career, and hopefully people can gain some useful advice into this, and they could be similar to you, 15 years, 20 years in the industry, or maybe less than two. So what would you say to someone early on in their career who wants to work in a similar environment to yourself, like at the intersection of all things sustainability, health, and technology?
Well, I would encourage them, just like I would have encouraged 22-year-old Tyler, to follow your passions. There's no guarantees in life, and I've learned to really focus on what's within my sphere of control. And what I can control is understanding who I am and what keeps me going and what I'm passionate about and really what I want to be a part of. And that's led me to where I am in my career at Johnson Controls. So understanding and following your passions, fighting relentlessly for opportunities to leverage them and be a part of exciting things happening in and around them, is what's got me to where I am. A little bit of patience, a little bit of luck, a little bit of hard work, investing in myself, and here we are.
If we look at AI again, would you say that's a skill for the next generation of leaders in building technology to really dive into, or are there other skills that you would recommend individuals who would aspire to have similar careers to yourself?
I have a 13-year-old son and 11-year-old daughter, Lewis. And as I think about them and their education and what they're going to do with their lives going forward as professionals eventually, I can't imagine a future in which AI isn't infused in everything. So as they follow their passions, as the listeners of your podcast follow their passions, I think that's table stakes. Understanding AI and how to apply it against certain use cases, just some of the fundamental words that are used and all that, like I don't think you're going to be able to get by at all, especially my kids. And it's going to be just as ubiquitous as using a computer or mobile phone is today. The other thing that's helped me in my career, at least to get to where I am, and others that would desire to be a leader in a large multinational company like I am, is thinking globally, and then also really investing in my understanding of financial concepts. I went back to school to get my master's degree to invest in that. There are many, many other ways that you can gain a similar set of skills, but that's never going to go away. Being able to understand financial concepts and how decisions that are made impact the operations of a company and ROI and things like that really, really encourage people to double down on that understanding as well.
Is there a reason that you think the industry struggles to attract talent? Is there barriers that you can see that potentially we, as a collective, need to be better at removing?
Well, I think this is also something that AI and smart building technology are helping with. Let's face it, our industry has historically been seen as a blue collar, get your hands dirty, uh, out in the field servicing equipment, and that's a big piece of what we still do today. But there are fewer that are coming out of high school or college that are attracted to those roles in that field than there once was. That's just the reality. Um, However, going forward, the nature of the work that a company like Johnson Controls is doing is going to require not only that set of skills, and we're fortunate to have the best in the business there, but also different sets of skills. And I see the evolution of smart building capabilities and AI as injecting into what has historically been seen as a blue collar industry, a new level of excitement and opportunity, leveraging different degrees and backgrounds and skill sets. A young engineer that wants to go work for a startup in Silicon Valley can have the same amount of opportunity, leverage their skills and their passions just as much at a company like Johnson Controls going forward. And that's what I think we need to be investing in, is ringing that bell loudly to attract a different set, an exciting set of talent going forward into our industry.
I could not agree more. Um, I mean, we could keep going, but shall we jump into a few quick fire questions before we wrap up? Uh, these are quick fire as well, by the way. I think when I first started doing this, we probably had some guests on that probably thought or overthought these questions, but let's go. So, favorite building,
My home.
best career advice you've received.
Be yourself.
Was that early in your career or?
I had people telling me that early in my career, but it took me a while to realize the importance of that.
I like that. A book or podcast that has shaped your thinking.
I'm a big science fiction fan, so anything by the author Adrian Tchaikovsky has really has rewired my brain and forced me to think differently about what's possible.
Okay. Any standout books that maybe I'll take a look at or someone can look at?
You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
Okay.
Look up Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Nice to plug there to Adrian. Yeah. um, I imagine some bias here, but what any favorite technology within the build space?
I'm a big sensor guy. So in any innovation that's happening in the sensor space, of course, for the last 5 years, air quality has been my team's focus. But man, there's so much cool stuff happening in sensors. Short and sweet sensors.
I like that. Um, what's one of the biggest misconceptions about this industry?
I think we were touching on it a few minutes ago, Lewis, that it had its heyday. It's maybe not where exciting innovation is happening, or careers that people are as attracted to going forward. Man, look at me. I'm case in point. Got an engineering degree, came up in sales, and have arrived at a spot that I never thought was possible. Because, and one of the other themes that we've been exploring, I followed my passions, and here we are.
Love it. Tyler, thank you so much for jumping on and doing this. I've personally learned a ton, and like I said, I think that there's just so many individuals in the space who need a leg up or need some insight that can be shared about where they can take their career. And it may not necessarily be in your direction, but for them to hear some of these snippets and hopefully they listen to this, whoever you are, helps shape their journey. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that. 20-year journey, and here's to hopefully another 20 years.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lewis. I love talking about and sharing my story. I appreciate you giving me a platform to do so.